year and a half ago, has come the time for me to make some big decisions.
Looks so sassy, so cool from outside. But the people, those who are actually living that life, they can understand.
Everyone is one type of a transition or another.
You should get that kind of a support from the organizations, or maybe from the external factors like a coach or a mentor should always be there.
What type of elevator pitch they will have, right?
I think this is what is really crucial and important, but I think this is at the same time missing as well. What does it take to transition from corporate leader to a coach, shaping the future of leadership? Today, we have someone who's done exactly that. She's led global projects for a multi-billion-dollar company, impacting over 22,000 employees, and now she is using her experience to help leaders in transition, building resilience and confidence, and fostering a growth mindset and leading with integrity. It's not just about managing teams, it's about leading yourself first. So let's all welcome Krystyna Litwa. Hi Krystyna, welcome to our show, Her Talks.
Hello Priyanka, and thank you so much for having me.
So can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. And what a beautiful introduction about me. So my name is Krystyna. I am from Poland, for those who wonder where that spelling of the name is coming from. And as you mentioned, I spent a big chunk of my career in corporate world, in one of the most dynamic industries, data center. And some time ago, over a year and a half ago, has come the time for me to make some big decisions, not only professionally, but also personally. And I look forward to sharing all those experiences and insights during today's talk.
That's wonderful. Can I ask what led to that decision in your life, the transition which happened from a corporate journey to the entrepreneur journey?
That's a great question, Priyanka. And so when I normally talk about what triggers change or significant change in humans' life, we can talk about either knowing enough and wanting to change, or having had to change because of the suffering and because of the pain and because
Absolutely.
not being able to cope with the situation anymore. And I definitely don't fall into one category, full stop. But there was a mix of personal circumstances, and one of them was bringing to an end almost a decade-long relationship. And I believe when that happened, I was not fully being aware of it, but I needed some space. I needed space to reflect, I needed some time, and I needed to just find myself. And I remember some of the last moments of that relationship where, well, many would say that I was so privileged. I was lucky in terms of the place where we lived, in terms of the lifestyle we had. But every morning when it can sound maybe a bit, maybe too much fluff or too sensitive, but I literally, every time when I looked at the mirror, I was asking myself the question, like, who are you? Like, what happened to you? That from that person who had so much, passion and energy and excitement and energy and everything, I was like not authentic and not true to myself any longer. And back at that time, my organization was doing extremely well, was growing. I was leading fantastic projects at that time. And I would say that the return to office was a big trigger for me. Thinking about what I was going through personally, and at that time reporting to sometimes 3-4 leaders all over the world, the return to office just didn't feel right. And so I made this decision. Yeah.
Okay, so I think I want to understand, like, you have transitioned from a corporate level, high level corporate role to coaching leaders. What inspired you to that transition or that shift in your life?
So Priyanka, at the end of my time with a corporate organization, I was given permission to do freelancing work outside of my working time. And that was the moment when I managed to get involved in few exciting projects. And one of them was a business based in Dubai, where the owner in his 60s, he wanted to prepare his successor to take over so he could move to New York and be with his children. And when I started to have exposure to how businesses look like beyond corporate, okay, and my organization was headquartered in the US, publicly listed, and I can say that we really did things very well. We had some of the best technologies and systems and programs. But when I realized that most of the businesses don't look like that.
Absolutely,
okay?
Yeah.
And many leaders just don't really have even some solid foundation in terms of how to manage and how to lead people. I started to feel like while I was involved in high-level projects, I could dedicate all of my time to working with those leaders, with their teams and organizations. So I realized that there was a big need for my services beyond corporate. And I believe that I was following a couple of individuals who made that shift. And absolutely at that time, I was so immature, maybe, and naive, believing that I could make it all happen so quickly because I was a high achiever and high performer. So at that time, I just believed, in a few months, like I ignored the comments of others who were saying it's going to take you like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years to be really like a break even and have a profitable business. It's like, no, I'm going to do it so much quicker because my services are really needed. Then obviously I faced the reality. So that's where I am.
But I think like most of the entrepreneur journeys are like this only. It looks so sashy, so cool from outside. But the people, those who are actually living that life, they can understand what we have been going through and like what is coming next. That is again a question mark for us, always.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest challenges leaders generally face during the transition? And how do you help them in this transition phase?
Mm-hmm. It's a fascinating question. And as I reflect on my clients and those who I speak with and work with, it seems like almost everyone is one type of a transition or another. Personal life transition, relocation, parents passing away, children being born, more senior roles, redundancies, reorganization. Yeah. It's just incredible, right? Not to mention challenges in personal life such as divorce and health. And we just oftentimes don't realize how much of impact it has on our life. So as I started to work with multiple leaders, I realized that actually what I really love doing with them is to partner with them as they go through that transition. And so the challenges that they oftentimes face is they have been extremely successful somewhere else. They've built teams, organizations, they were respected, they were recognized. And the time has come for them to move on, right? Maybe they are outgrown or maybe they were just looking for fresh challenges. But oftentimes as they transition, they forget about the challenges, okay, that are related to the transition. So oftentimes they try to bring the playbooks that worked, okay, the systems that they built, the ways of leading, the ways of bringing the team together. And while what I would say is that, at the fundamental level, there are some solid systems that every leader puts in place and the ways of leading. But when it comes to a very new environment, copy and paste is not enough, right? Or just bringing what worked, hoping that it will work. So I would say that one of the first challenges is not being prepared for the transition and not thinking about that the transition can take time. Depending on the seniority of the role, we can look into, when we look at the C-level, it can take between a year and a half, even 2 years' time. And when we look at the statistics, we see that approximately 40, some studies say that even more than 40, close to 50 of those percent of those transitions fail within around a year and a half or so. So I would say that the first one, it's just not getting ready to learn about the organization. Oftentimes not coming with a mindset of being curious to learn how things worked, what didn't, diagnosing the organization. The cultural differences, right, is something that oftentimes they struggle with. especially coming from workplaces that were very much about high performance and getting work done and quick decisions and ownership and accountability. And then they find themselves in a place where it takes weeks to make a decision. The teams are not very strong. There is no ownership and accountability. That reality crash is difficult for many to accept. Another challenge that I see oftentimes is the alignment on priorities and expectations, especially for those who step into a VP C-level role. And we know also from studies and some of the experts in the space of leadership transition that those individuals are never onboarded. Okay, they are welcomed and they are let go to get on with work. Okay, another challenge which I often see them facing is alignment on expectations. And the more senior they are and the more senior role they step into, we know from studies and experts in the space of transition that those individuals hardly ever get any type of onboarding, okay, or any type of integration. And they are welcome to the team and pretty much expected to hit the ground running, okay? And so the alignment on expectations, some of the clients that I work with, they were unable for a few weeks to sit down with the leader, with the CEO, for instance, right? And actually talk about priorities, talk about the most important initiatives that they need to get involved. Obviously, they were doing their own diagnosis, the research, they were getting to know the team, understanding the dynamics, understanding the landscape of politics, right? Understanding the culture. But there is a point where understanding and making sense, making some type of judgments or opinions has to then come with execution, right? And that alignment on that execution, it's sometimes not there. And I see that it's extremely frustrating, especially for those who were delivering a lot of value in previous organization. It's frustrating, it's demotivating, it impacts the confidence, it has them question themselves a lot. And I've seen cases where leaders actually decided to walk away from those organizations. They tried to have meetings, they tried to align, it just didn't work. So they realized that the culture isn't for them. So in general, we would look into the three categories of challenges. One is culture, so the culture integration. The two is politics, okay? It sometimes doesn't matter how great we are in terms of our industry skill set if we are not able to understand the dynamics when it comes to different stakeholders and build alliances and align very well and don't get enough support from them, it may not necessarily work. And the third category would be normally people, the relationships with a team, with a leader, and other peers as well.
Okay, I think being a leader myself, I can really vouch for this thing. Like when you are transitioning from one position to another position, it is really very important that you should get that kind of a support from the organizations, or maybe from the external factors like a coach or a mentor should always be there, because sometimes it's not necessary that you know everything.
Yeah.
You have to learn from outside, and you should be open for these transitions and these learnings.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And actually working with a coach or a consultant, mostly transition coach, really forces leaders to create time and space for reflections, right? And as I walk my clients through the program that I created, for them having to think about leader assimilation. So how they're gonna get to know the team's expectations, how they're gonna get to know the team, how they're gonna introduce themselves to all the different stakeholders, or how they're gonna, what type of elevator pitch they will have, right? What's the plan for the first day, for the first 30 days, without actually that coach that has them actually, let's take a seat and let's do it. Let's walk through that. It can be very tricky. And what I see leaders making the biggest mistake is just running to get the work done, not learning enough, not listening enough, and not reflecting enough.
So I think, Krystyna, I think in your career, you have witnessed the highs of the leadership as well as you have seen the dark side of the burnouts as well. Like, how can leaders build the resilience to avoid that?
Mm-hmm. I love this question. All right. What I would say, what I would say the key is that building shouldn't come as a extra activity or extra burden. It should come as a new way of living. Okay, so I like to talk about life integration. I don't talk about work-life balance. It's something that me as a business owner, currently being involved in multiple different projects, talking about balance can just bring so much stress, unneeded stress and pressure, right? So I would say first we need to start, and leaders need to start thinking about the end in mind. So the life they want to have, how they want to feel as they go through the life, what type of experiences, people, events, memories they want to build. And then really start building from there. So it's about just being very clear what makes our life rich. And I mean the rich, the new rich, right? Which is about the peace, it's about freedom, whatever freedom means, it's about quality moments, is about good people around us. It's just about living the life that is conscious, it's not on autopilot. And so integrating the important aspects of life into day-to-day activities instead of just focusing on work. And I've seen leaders who worked 10, 12, 16 hours per day and then compromised their health. And I've spoke with those who ended up with a cancer and with a marriage going through a divorce and having a really bad relationship with children and being underperformer at work, regardless of working that many hours. And so that integration, consciously focusing on relationships, on the health, on work, but also on our growth. Spirituality is important to us as well. And what also is really critical is to be very clear about everything that we say no to life and being very loyal to it, right? So if that integrated life has some type of shape and form, everything that is going to mess it or is going to impact it negatively, ultimately us as well, just being very protective for it. Again, some talk about boundaries. Again, this word, the boundaries, can sometimes be perceived in a positive, negative way, but we need to know what's okay, what's not okay. And that's, for me, one way to build resilience. Taking rest, but again, not the rest when we are running out on energy. There are 5, 6, 7 types of different type of rest, right? So it's about how can we integrate this rest into our weekly plan, okay? So not waiting for the moment when spiritually we are exhausted, mentally we are done, physically we are in such a bad shape, but more like looking at it, for instance, on monthly basis. And when I work with my clients, I really love to walk them through board of directors activity where I believe that we all should every month have an idea what's the professional, personal plan for the next 30 days and build a board of advisors for us. So those individuals that we can either go for coffee, breakfast, jog, so they are the advisors in our personal life or those from the professional life. And make sure that we are surrounded by those good people. Relationships are critical. And again, we are an average of 5 to 6 people we spend most of the time with. And again, if we are surrounded by those who work a lot of time and don't look after themselves, we're going to be influenced by that. So I would say those would be the highlights of building resilience and listening to the body, the mind, the heart, the whole body. And we can only do it when we carve out the time for reflections. And again, when it comes to meditation, right? Many struggle with meditation. I struggled heavily years ago, and I resisted doing it. I cannot start a day without doing meditation. Sometimes it's a quick one, sometimes a longer one. But the more we can find our own way, it doesn't have to be that we are seated, okay, with the candles, music, and so on. It can be just a walk by the beach, right? And just thinking about nothing, just enjoying the smell, the feel of the wind, the sound of the waves. And the more we can sense, like, is the body actually, are we aligned? Do we feel good? And if not, just what is it calling us? Is it our stomach? Is it our heart? What is it? Is it our throat? And really do something about it.
Nice. You always emphasize on the self-leadership. So, what does it mean by, according to you, and how it is going to impact the leaders?
Mhm. Self-leadership for me is the moment when we decide to stop being victims and we start to become creators. Creators of a life, relationships that we want to consciously create. And for me, self-leadership means that we master ourselves in the sense that we understand ourselves, we understand why we are here, and what all the struggles and challenges we have gone through have to teach us, and potentially what is our role in this world. And we accept that mission. So we are here for a reason, we accept that. But then we also accept that we came with all the flaws, everything that we brought from our childhood, our societies, families. So a very realistic outlook and an honest assessment. But then we take ownership for that. So for me, it was a devotion for years, reading so many different books about habits and about emotional intelligence and about goal setting. But I was one of those, I always thought that, no, I don't just collect the books, I really do things with the knowledge. But actually, no, that wasn't real. Those concepts, I wasn't putting them into real practice. And since the bigger transformation of my life started, I realized that self-leadership is just taking action, trying things and doing things that sometimes when we look back is like, how? Okay, I did my best. It's okay. So there is clarity on the North Star. We know where we are heading. We accept that we don't have to be perfect. We don't know everything, but we own it and we work on all those aspects of us that actually are not helping us. So the habits, the optimal week design, the focus, prioritization, but also everything to do with emotional intelligence. Really, if I cannot cope or make decisions, if I cannot operate under pressure, or I cannot be in an environment of uncertainties, how can I walk anyone through that? And so my clients teach me a lot. It sometimes feels like I should be paying them for everything that I'm learning from that interaction. But that self-leadership is very brave. It's I go regardless of all the fears, regardless of uncertainties, regardless of feeling maybe not ready for everything, but I go for it because it feels like it's the right thing to do. And I believe that only when we understand how vulnerable we are, how human we are, how messy we are, how just real, how raw everything is, I believe that we can look at another human being through a very different lens, a lens that has so much of compassion and so much love for that human being, rather than judging or looking at their weaknesses or looking at things that, maybe they made a mistake. So I wish for leaders to get to know them at that deeper level where not everything is perfect, and acknowledge all the mistakes and all the lessons. And so when they come to meetings, when they are having one-to-ones with their team members, they see the human in human. And with that self-leadership, there is a lot of sweating and crying and disappointment and mistakes and trying. But that's life.
I think this is what is really crucial and important, but I think this is at the same time missing as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so now comes the fun part. Okay,
Let's go.
We have created couple of rapid fire questions for you. Just answer whatever comes to your mind first. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So it should be quick and should come out from your heart.
Okay.
So the first question is, what's the first thing you do stay grounded during a busy day?
Ride a motorcycle. Of course, I ride a motorcycle, and that's for me the best way.
Yes, and I would like to bring this thing to our audience that Krystyna is an amazing motorcycle rider, and she rides a lot. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the best advice you have ever received?
That's a great one. It's the best advice I've ever
And
received.
you're taking a lot of time.
Okay, because there are just so many ideas in my head. Just follow your heart, listen to yourself, and follow your intuition.
Perfect. Yeah. So the one thing every leader should do daily.
Self-reflections.
Needed. Meditation, self-reflection. Yeah, nice. So what's your favorite book on personal growth?
I love Atomic Habits by James Clear. Not so much on personal development, but habits formation, which I believe is one of the biggest obstacles that we face as we develop ourselves.
And I think you are another guest on our show who's again watching for that book. And I think it's an amazing book. I have read it once, and it gives you the sense that, no, this is not the right, you do it again, and then the habit it's going to build.
So, there is a science behind. We are humans. That's how it works. If we want to reprogram, that's the step.
And I think everyone should read it once.
Yeah, I believe that there should be a version for the kids even and high schools.
Yes. Okay. So in 3 words, what makes a resilient leader, according to you?
3 words. So I can use 3 different words, or they should sort of like come together as forming.
Okay, whatever you like.
Okay, resilient leader. Growth mindset. Okay. Inner strength. So like moving anyway. And then probably authenticity.
Okay. So what is the best stress relieving activity for you?
Riding a motorcycle.
Yeah, I knew it. Okay, so let's jump back to our question. So how do you help leaders who develop a growth mindset, especially when stepping into the challenging new roles?
I would say that that oftentimes happens very quickly, because it's really about the mindset shift. We say growth mindset, but it's just the mindset shift that sometimes we have 1 or 2 sessions, and then the next session is already quite different, because the mindset really shifts. It shifts quickly because they feel how thinking the other way hurts them and makes them feel uneasy. So that what I mean in that shift is just don't expecting that things are going to be easy, and don't think that all the challenges and struggles and difficulties are any type of hardship or punishment. That's just the way the life is. So really quickly shifting the mindset and looking at every single challenge and obstacle as an opportunity to grow as a leader, but also as a leader who comes up with solutions, innovation, and leads others who are a few steps behind to overcome those challenges. So again, I would say that shift from a bit of victim and everything happening to me, and why those things happen to me, to, okay, that happens, but I can control all those activities, and that's what I can do, and that's what I'm going to do. So it really shifts a lot in terms of power from this empowerment to empowerment, and like, let's do it. And then I heard that sentence some time ago, and I wouldn't, and of course, we all may believe in different religions, but that particular was saying that God would never send us a challenge that he doesn't think we can cope with. And that person kept on saying, like, yeah, you send it? Of course, I will overcome it. I will do it. So we don't get what we ask for, but we get opportunity to develop what we are asking for. And so I think that with the growth mindset, this is exactly the thing. As leaders progress, as they aspire for more senior roles, this is a playground. Now it may sound a bit, jokey, but it's a playground for them just to exercise and get better.
Right. That's wonderful. So can you share a success story where a leader you coached experienced a significant transformation?
Yes, I would love to talk about a client who is based in Bahrain, and he has team in Saudi and Bahrain. He's a consultancy firm. And as I even think about that transformation, is just it's just beautiful. So he reached out to me. We met on LinkedIn, and he reached out to me asking, like, Krystyna, what systems, what proven systems are you talking about? Like, I want to find out more. And so we started to chat, and it's one of those leaders who wants to get better for the people and who wants to build a business that is making a difference in this world. And I really love working with those individuals. And so he was extremely fantastic when it comes to doing the work, managing projects himself. And that's how he was able to establish such a successful business. But together in the business, he was involved in every single email, in every single call, in every single escalation from customers. Like he at the time when we met, he had no admin or HR support, okay? And he was extremely profitable, successful business already. So he was doing that all, and he reached the point where he knew that in order to grow the business, take it to another level, and build the partnerships he wanted to build, he needed to step away from everything, but he just had no idea how to do it. How to step away the way that it would not break, okay? But also not to have the team feel that they no longer matter and he's not available for them. But how to also shift the mindset from day-to-day operations to now thinking about the next few years and the partnerships. And that's exactly what we did. And it's so beautiful. Every time when we would have a session, he would come back and talk about all those things, how he presented that to the team, how they responded, what happened when clients call him asking if he would be joining the call, how well he explained that his team is prepared to handle all of that. So he did all the beautiful things to prepare the team to step up. We did the matrix, the assessment of the team. We worked on what to delegate, and he would study everything and come to the sessions saying, like, I believe that this person can do that work as well as 70% as I can do it, so I believe that we can delegate it. So he became a student at heart, and he did such a fantastic work. And I know that throughout the program he also met a lady who he married. So he was able to literally leave the country where the team was based, travel, get married, and everything was working. The team was working, the business was growing. So it was just beautiful, and there was no stress, there was no disappointment. Everything just like organically evolved beautifully.
I think your answer says a lot about a person who's at the receiving end. That person is really believe in themselves to change.
Yeah.
Because it all depends on them actually. If they're ready to change themselves, if they're ready to accept what the coach and the mentor is saying, I think half of the battle is done.
Yeah. Spot on. And I oftentimes speak with potential clients who they know it all. They've done everything. Yeah. Like they are the best at everything. They have all the degrees. It's okay. I have a lot of respect for them, especially that they invested so much time in studying. But throughout 10-15 minutes of conversation, all I hear is ego, I'm the best.
Yeah.
So absolutely, my clients want to change and they want to do the work. Sometimes the sessions are very vulnerable, very at the very deep level, but they want to do it because they want to see the transformation.
Okay. So with leadership evolving, how do you see the future of leadership changing, particularly for the women in leadership roles?
Mm-hmm. I believe that it's becoming more, and it will be becoming more about people. Okay, so more about creating an environment for people to do good work, for people to feel good, because we understand and studies tell us that the better the people feel good about the place they work in and the leadership, the better work they would be doing. And when we look at Gallup studies, we know that 70 or over 70% of variance in employee engagement is related to the manager, right? So how the manager treats employees, responds to the questions, addresses any type of concerns. So it has to be, excuse me, it's going to be more about people, but also it's becoming more about leaders becoming better leaders to connect at the better, deeper level, especially when we talk about having different type of generations at the table. for leaders having the empathy to bring them together, for leaders to have empathy to actually understand the needs of different type of audiences and different generations. I also see that leaders need to be extremely agile. Agile in terms of go-to-market strategies, in terms of plans for the years. So on one hand, have the vision, okay, and put the plan to execute it in place, but at the same time, being very agile and understanding the market and adjusting where it needs to be very quickly, not to be left behind. It's going to be definitely about technology. So the leaders who are not afraid to tap into AI, different systems and processes and automation, they are the ones who can make the lives of their employees easier and better, because they can remove the work that potentially is duplication, is boring, it's not engaging, and have the staff focus on maybe higher value activities. But they need to align their minds with hearts. It cannot be just about pushing technology for the sake of making money or saving money, but more about creating an ecosystem where technology makes it just stronger. So listening to people, listening to customers, observing the market, and then making bold decision on how to integrate technology. And also leaders who who acknowledge that in order to retain the talent, they need to show them that there is a future for them. And I'm currently involved in a couple of projects, and the one which is so phenomenal is about a job architecture and career advancement project. So let's imagine a leader who actually, the business grows exponentially, and the leadership team wants to make sure that every team member sees that as the business grows, there is a space for them, but not the space for them to stay the same, but space for them to expand. And so the good leaders and how leaders need to change is, it's not just enough to pay a salary and have the employee have the same role for many years, but showing what's next and creating systems and environment for the employees to get ready for that next level assignment. I would say that those would be probably the big ones. When it comes to female, I just I believe that we just need to believe in ourselves more. We need to stop all the
preconceived notions and
absolutely all the conversations where we compare ourselves with men. We need to be as strong as they are, or we are not good enough.
Yeah.
We just need to believe in the power that we have and just go and make some magic happen and be awesome moms and be awesome at work. And I also believe that we need to be better with women with women. And it's actually sad to say that I witnessed on multiple occasions where potentially men could be even more supportive for women. And many women, because of the insecurities and because how they were treated by other women, they would actually be quite nasty for other women. And so, and that's not ideal. I mean, we need to be comfortable to come together to the table as women, whether regardless of the leadership level, and accept that we bring all the belongings and we talk as equal women. So yeah, let's just drop all those nonsense conversations and let's just bring all the magic. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now as we're approaching towards the end of our episode, so this is the last question for you. What legacy do you hope to leave through your work in leadership coaching and organizational development?
That's a deep one. I love it. I love it. When it comes to leadership, I don't have any type of expectations for any type of fancy awards or I am nothing to do with fancy, unless nice helmet and nice bike. Okay, but I don't think in terms of when I think about my profession, I don't think in terms of any type of flashy legacy. For me, every client is there is a deep reason why we work together. And I just want them to enjoy life and enjoy the role and be successful. I want them to be happy. So for me, the legacy is that the life can be transformed. The life, but also the relationship with their spouses, the relationship with their children, and the relationship at work. So for me, the legacy is like, I hope I'm changing lives for the better. because one life change for the better is another life change for better that person impacts. When it comes to organization development, and I would love to hear that recording in some time, in a few decades, but I really feel that we are getting the whole change management so wrong. We are not transforming businesses the right way. We are not looking at businesses the right way as a holistic ecosystem. So when I think about organization development, I really love the approach where, everything in the business needs to be well aligned and has to organically grow to be future ready and to be future proof. And I believe that I really want to do more and more work in organization development. So instead of professionals focusing on just one aspect, just well-being or just communication or team engagement activity, like finally we just need to get to the table and understand that this is all connected. Like we cannot be doing nice employee well-being initiative if we have managers that never been prepared to be managers and we allow them to be toxic and we don't provide proper remuneration in the workplaces, and the communication that we have in place is so messy and not right. So my aspiration is actually really drive the change, and I would hope that in the future I do have a consultancy, organization development consultancy that gets it right, because I believe that that's what businesses and that's what employees deserve. So this is my legacy, like one life at a time when it comes to leader, one business at a time, where leaders understand that actually we need to look at it holistically rather than just one isolated item taken into consideration. And then I just want to be a good person as I do it, regardless of all the challenges that I have in personal life. It's like I'm every day up doing those things for clients, for the teams and businesses. So that's my why. And that's the legacy I would love to leave.
I think that's wonderful, and thank you so much for this insightful conversation. I'm sure like people, those who are listening to this conversation, they one thing they understood, that it is really very important to have someone to hold your hand when you are at that transition phase. You need someone. And more than that, you should be ready to actually receive the feedback and to implement those feedback in your life, whether it's personal or the professional one.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Krystyna, for coming on our show and spreading this word of insight, information, and the knowledge.
I'm grateful to you for having me. One point I would love to ask, never be afraid to ask for help. And I know that the more senior leaders are, the more afraid they are that they will be perceived as weak, asking for feedback, asking for help. Let's don't be afraid, because only if we open up to others, others can see that they may need to help us. And so thank you for having me. I loved your questions and I look forward to our next conversation.
Yeah.